about animals, health, all sorts of things. So everyone give Nikki a warm welcome. Hi everybody, what a treat to be out at these festivals, especially when we're in a time where there seems to be so much heaviness and sadness and despair in the news, and then to know that something like this is happening in our backyard. It's a treat, and it's really soul food, ironically enough. So my name again is Nikki, and I lived in Florida for 12 years. I was up in the Tampa Bay area, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and I was living the regular standard American life and doing what most people do, go to the beach, hang out with friends, whatever. But I felt like I wanted to engage in a career that was meaningful. I couldn't just do something for the paycheck, and I just started to question what would be meaningful and get me out of bed every morning besides money. And I went to Busch Gardens in Tampa. Anyone ever go to Busch Gardens? Well, I had an epiphany walking in and seeing how horrible the conditions were for the animals and the koala bears, and then the silverback gorilla exhibit was really the hardest hitting. They're very human-like in their mannerisms, and I remember staring at this majestic, beautiful creature, and he looked miserable, and he was lifeless, black eyes, and he's startled when the leaf next to him fell, and he just was so miserable that I started to think, what am I doing? Why am I looking at this beautiful creature in the middle of Tampa, Florida? I should be in the Congo of Africa looking at this guy. Why is he stuck here listening to screaming kids and cotton candy machines and roller coasters? It just didn't feel right. So I went home and I was talking with my friends and my boyfriend. I'm like, this just doesn't seem like a fair thing to do to this animal. And they're like, well, the habitat destruction, we have to save them and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's a good response to our own destruction, is to slap them in the face and take away their freedom. So I went to the University of Florida to earn my degree in wildlife ecology and conservation, eating animals, like most people do, because I felt like cows, pigs, turkeys, and chickens are food. That's what they're here to be, is food. Well, I'm learning why animals are in captivity and blown away that this whole human enterprise has been doing things that I had no idea about, and I didn't even really extend the opportunity to learn. It just wasn't on my radar to really care. Not that I would have shunned it if I learned, it just wasn't reaching out for it. But so I'm learning all these things. Animal agriculture is driving environmental crisis more than any other sector. And I'm like, I have to be a vegetarian. I didn't want to be a vegetarian, but I knew I cared about wildlife and the environment. I had to cut animals out of my diet. There was no way around it. So in doing that, for 10 months, I chose the plant-based alternatives. And something happened that I wasn't planning on. All of a sudden, my heart opened and I started to see cows, pigs, turkeys, and chickens as animals, just like cats and dogs. And it was like, wait, okay, you are an animal like the rest of it. So that veil, that wall in my heart started to crumble. And I was able to feel deeply for these animals, not just the gorillas that I was seeking to help. And so when I earned my degree in wildlife ecology and conservation, I was like, I don't feel like that's going to be a valuable path for me to take. If I want to help the animals on the planet, I think it's going to be a more efficient route to help people fall in love with their sandwich. Because not everybody eats. We all eat. And that's causing a huge amount of problems beyond what they're eating. And it will help the wildlife. So it's like an umbrella focus. So I graduated with absolutely no clue what I'm going to do. So I just found a nonprofit, Florida Voices for Animals. Has anyone heard of that organization up in Tampa? I was their employee for a year and a half doing outreach for all things. And what I noticed is the more I learned, the more pain I had in my heart and the more sadness I felt and despair and doubt that humans were going to do anything to actually improve things. And I knew that that wasn't a healthy place to be. I couldn't go out and socialize. I was so sad and depressed. I'm like, okay, I need to find a way to be at peace. And I remember asking someone one time, a professor at University of Florida, how do you know what's going on and you not walk around pissed off all the time? How do you like humans knowing what they're doing to the planet? She said, it's a choice that you make. Like, what kind of answer is that? It's a choice I make. No, that's not getting it for me. But what I learned in my path, and Colleen Patrick Goudreau, has anyone heard of her? The Joyful Vegan chef? She was a very powerful healing force for me on my path. And it is a choice. And to trust and love. And what I learned in this path is that trusting and love, it's not the airy-fairy kumbaya that I was raised thinking that the love motion would be, but trusting that love is behind the scenes and that things are happening as an effect of people being pinched off of love. It's not that people are not choosing to be loved, but there's a myriad of reasons that we're not living in that natural state of love. And so when I started to do some inner healing work, therapy and other things to try to find that persistent state of peace, meditation. Anyone try to meditate? It's kind of hard until it's not. But what I learned was that I felt like the answers were inside of me. The ability to be at peace and be a conduit for positive growth and change was inside of me. And so I ended up in the economy tanking here in Florida, and I was unemployed. FVA had to let me go. And for a year I was on unemployment in Vegan Outreach. Has anyone heard of Vegan Outreach? They're the organization that hands out booklets on college campuses. They're amazing. They hired me to move to Los Angeles to take over the college outreach in Southern California. I was like, wow, I never wanted to leave Florida, but LA is a pretty good plan B, so let's check it out. So I moved out to California, and I was doing that for 3 years, and during that time I worked with a shaman. I was his apprentice, and because I knew that the depths of the problems on the planet were because most of us humans were not living out of our heart space. We were not living in alignment with love. And so I wanted to figure out how to help humans do that. And there's a lot of emotional baggage that we as humans end up carrying in our day-to-day lives that we don't even know we have, but it distorts our ability to interpret reality. And so I thought, well, people are not inherently bad. I wasn't a bad person. I was eating animals and littering. I would flick my cigarette out the car. I wasn't a bad person. I just wasn't thinking about the big picture. And so while I was in California doing all this energy healing work, I knew that the greatest way to stop the suffering in the world, though going to protest and everything was very valuable, I felt like one thing I wanted to see and be more of a part of was helping to love the people who were causing the harm. Because I felt like the only time we cause harm to someone else is when we ourselves are suffering, right? Only hurt people. And that extends out to animals and the environment too. And so I knew that I started to see energy as kind of a collective thing. We're all a part of this sphere, this matrix of energy. And so if, say, red is pain and white is love, there's so much pain in the world, and it's causing environmental destruction, animal abuse, wars, violence, and it's the red that's causing all that. And so if each of us have red inside of us, if we have childhood trauma, if we're angry about the state of the world, I'm angry that you're abusing animals, I'm angry that you're polluting, I'm angry that you're doing all these things, we're adding more of that red energy that's causing more of that pain. And so I thought, okay, well, how can I no longer add to the red? So it was my job to go inside, look under the hood of myself and say, where can I soften? Where can I calm any anger inside of me? And I realized that more of us that do that, more of us that access that place like a stained glass window. There's this brilliant light shining all the time. And what are we projecting into the world through us as a stained glass window? So we have accumulated layers of dysfunctional beliefs. I'm not worthy. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. There's not enough money for me. Money's dirty and bad. Like if we have any of these distorted beliefs of limitation and scarcity, that dulls our ability to shine a true light and be of service in the world. And so I thought, oh, the answer isn't stopping this person from, littering or shutting down this power plant. It's necessary and helpful, but ultimately, why are we giving rise to power plants? Why are there products that are toxic? It's because we as individuals are still operating from a place of not seeing the bigger picture, not in the place of wholeness. And so I shifted my gears from activism to intivism. And I realized I want to help people fall in love with themselves. Because being a being that loves yourself, you're not going to walk around taking selfies all the time and talking about yourself. That's not self-love, and that's what I always thought self-love was. But self-love, no, it's so much bigger. It's honoring your needs. If you're tired, take a nap. If you're feeling groggy, what are you eating? You probably need to eat a little bit better or sleep longer. Just what steps can you take to nourish yourself? Getting out into nature like the doctor was saying. There's a frequency. I know everything is energy. We're all energy beings. There's a frequency in the earth. And we are in concrete buildings wearing fake material in our shoes. We're away from the vibration of nature, and that can cause illness. That can cause distorted thinking. So, in alignment with the energy thing, kicking your shoes off. So I invite everybody now, if you're capable and interested, kick those shoes off. Get that energy, look around for fire ants and puppy patties first. But really open your toes, really connect with the vibration of earth, touch trees, be outside. So shifting my gears, which was such a good thing, you guys, because it doesn't feel good to hate humans. It doesn't feel good to be upset with your own species. And it's not a healthy place talking about diseases and stress. If we hold on to that much resentment and anger, that is cancer waiting to happen. That is a whole litany of bodily misalignments. So while I was in Los Angeles and I made this commitment to live a heart-led life, I also started to meditate and listen to my intuition. Our intuition is our higher self. It's our inner wisdom. It's our connection to something bigger. It's not the fear-based thinking mind, which is a valuable servant to the heart, but not a good leader at all. But most of us are being led by this fear-based thinking mind. So I started to develop my intuition. I got involved in energy healing. I'm now a Reiki master and a coach. Has anyone heard of Reiki? It's relaxing energy healing. I got involved in that, and the more I did that, the louder my intuition got. And my life started to crumble at the same time. Like, okay, now my job's falling apart, my housing situation is miserable. My life was just literally coming to a halt, and there was nothing I could do about it. My resume was not getting me any jobs. A lot of my relationships were falling apart. I'm like, this is the opposite of helpful now. Like, what is going on? What I realize now is that I was going through very necessary shit in my role on this planet. And what I was being given a chance to do in a master's program was start to listen to only this, only my heart. And in doing that, I was sitting in the car crying because I didn't want to go home, I didn't want to go to work. I'm like, oh, what do I do? I was talking with a friend, and she's like, Nikki, you just need to say beep and walk out of that house. I was like, I have 2 cats, I have stuff. I can't just live in my little 2-door car with my cats and my stuff. But when I heard myself say that, I was like, I'm an animal rights activist in Los Angeles. I have a gazillion friends. Someone can take care of my cats. That's what we do. I was like, my stuff doesn't matter at this point. I'm so miserable. I don't even care about my stuff. I'll literally throw it away if it meant not being miserable anymore. So I felt inside a shift. I felt a declaration of, I have an answer. I know what I'm doing tomorrow. It was Sunday night. I was going to go to work the next morning at a restaurant that I loved the food and hated the people. I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to wake up, go to work. When I get off, I'm going to email all my friends and ask someone to take my cats. I'm going to throw my crap to the curb. I'm going to get in my car and go somewhere. I trust. People backpack all over Europe with no clue where they're going. And that's the life, apparently, that I'm going to take right now because what I'm doing isn't working. But the important piece is that I made this inner declaration. I decided that I was worth it. I was worth the uncertainty. I was worth the effort and the inconvenience of getting out of the hellhole that I was in. So I went to bed and woke up and went to my job, and it was a really good vegan restaurant in Los Angeles, and one of my coworkers worked for PETA, and he had gotten in a bike accident. And I got a text that he was at the emergency room with a cracked hip. I was like, oh no. So I texted him and I'm like, dude, I'm at your favorite restaurant. I work here. I'll bring you a sandwich when I get off. What do you want? So I meet him. I give him the little Reiki healing. We're chatting. He's like, well, what are you up to? I said, well, actually, my life is falling apart, but I'm going to give my stuff away and have someone watch my cats and live in my car for a little while. I don't know. He's like, Nikki, I just got in a bike accident, and I'm going to have to learn how to walk again. It's going to take me 3 months to climb stairs. My apartment's on the 2nd floor in Los Angeles, and I can't go home. I have to live in rehab for at least 3 months. Why don't you stay at my place? I was like, you live on the Sunset Strip. I would love to help you, but I can't afford your apartment on Sunset Strip. And he has the keys. He throws them at me. It's paid. Just stay there. What? He's like, oh, and I was just fostering cats, so there's a litter box, toys, and food. I'm like, what? So here, what we saw was a very loud example of what happens. The universe will set into motion whatever is necessary to honor you honoring yourself. But what the universe at that point said was, oh, you do care about you. Okay, well, here's that. Now here's a few other trinkets. So for the next 19 months, I was floating from one place to the next. Some of it got a little bumpy when my ego got involved and fear flared up. But for the most part, I was carried and nurtured in a master's program of learning intuition. So many masterful things happened that I had to write a book about it. I have some in my bag. Because it was unreal. It was absolutely unreal that most of us are living a life that we think we have to, that we think we should. We don't know what else is an option, and so we stay in it. And we're not living in our highest potential. We're not feeling joy. We're not feeling fulfillment. And that red color, we have it in small doses, but it's in us. And so we are perpetuating that red color for the collective, that uncomfortable, unhappy, numbed out place, because we're not living in our whole soul's highest potential. I'm going to say this with 100% confidence. Every human on this planet is sitting on a gold mine of skills and talents that they may not ever discover. And I know for a fact the earth is screaming for all of us to discover this. We need it bad, fast, and hard now. All of us have some kind of limiting belief in some fashion that's preventing us from exploring this. What would this be like? I've always wondered what that was like, but now I have this and I have that. And it doesn't make sense logically. I can't see an on-road to do it. Doesn't matter. It does not matter. The universe doesn't work in those kinds of 1 to 2 to 3 plans. The universe will work you all over the place. And not because you're doing something wrong, but because there are gifts for you at all of these crazy stops along the way. It is literally not the destination. It is the journey. And my understanding is the journey is to help us dig deeper into our hearts and love harder and love bigger and love faster for all. The man who kills chickens, the guy who just dumped oil in the ocean. It is up to us who are already tapped in here. We're already pulled out of the Matrix Collective. We're not perpetuating the dysfunction of treating animals the way they've been treated for so long. I'm saying there's a little bit of extra responsibility on every one of us because we have already broken out a little bit. And there's so much more. And it really is hard a lot of the time, but it is 100% possible for us to access that infinite love that loves the trees as much as the sky, as much as the birds, as much as the radiation. Like all of it is all here for us to gain wisdom and greater depth of forgiveness and compassion and love. And it is miraculous and rewarding. The amount of support you will receive by taking steps on behalf of your heart and intuition will boggle your mind. It will rearrange the universe in ways that you could have never manipulated with force. I can say that with confidence. And what I learned along the way of doing my intuition-led life is that you're going to piss people off because you'll realize the relationships you've been maintaining have been largely codependent or ego-based, fear-based. I do this for me, you do this for you. We keep each other secure but also small and ultimately ineffective because we're not living our fullest potential. I'm going to live as big as I can be to keep you comfortable so that I keep you here. So it is an uncomfortable path a lot of the times when you start expanding out to live into your fullest potential. But here's on the flip side of that pendulum swing, is that the amount of joy that you receive, the amount of love, the amount of support and validation and security is so much deeper and unmesswithable. There's usually a non-G-rated word I use there, but there are little ears, I'm not going to say it. There is a level of security that can't be tethered by the behavior of another human. The security that is inherent in your existence on this planet is not messed with because of your behavior. Your worth is not tied in to the belief of another human. We are valuable and worthy inherently for existing. And if we don't know that, we walk on this earth in a different way than we would authentically. So that's a valuable piece to remember. And in terms of intuition-led living, many of us don't know what's intuition, what's ego, what's fear, what's repetitive, what's my mother. Like, how do I know if it's intuition? And a really couple great points to that is feeling. What's the feeling state that you get when you're hearing this guidance? So, for instance, if you start to want to build your intuition, you can say, when you're getting dressed in the morning, look at your closet, maybe pick 2 shirts and say, what shirt do I want to wear today? Ask the question to yourself, and then see which answer feels better. Don't really think too logically. Be like, oh, well, I've got this meeting and it's blue and I want to look powerful, blah, blah, whatever. just really feel intuitively into which shirt would be the best for lunch. Well, should I have the fruit salad or should I have oatmeal? Like, just start to ask that question and see what the feeling state is that comes with the answers that you get. That's one way. Another way is one of my favorites, is called yes, no. And it's going into your heart and listening to your heart. So you ask a question and you say, you can start now if anyone wants to try it now. The yes, no is, you say something that you know for sure the answer is a yes. Like your name. My name is Mike. So you would close your eyes and you say, my name is Mike. And say other yes things. My hair is brown. Like whatever you know for sure the answer is a yes. And see what you feel in your heart when you say that. And then clear all that out and say, okay, now my name is Bill. Your name's not Bill. You have to say a name that's not you. My name's Bill. I like white chocolate. Say something that you know is a no, for sure, and then see if the feeling is different in your heart than when you said the yes. That's another great, it's your own pendulum kind of thing. So that's a helpful way. But also, to anchor your intuitive wisdom into your life, you have got to take action on the information that you get, because otherwise it just stays up here in the ethers floating around, and you're not pulling that energy here into the physical realm. So it's really important. So if you're driving down the road and you hear, go to Walgreens, and your intuition, well, I don't need anything at Walgreens. I'm supposed to meet Jim the house in 20 minutes. Go to okay, get off the exit, go to Walgreens. You have to take action, because then your intuition, oh, you are listening. Oh, okay. And so then the hits will get louder. Maybe you'll bump into Jim's brother, and you've been wanting to meet this guy for a long time, and he's like, hey, I've been wanting to meet you too. And he was at Walgreens. So you never know what gifts wait for you when you're listening to this intuitive guidance, because I tell you, it's way more wise and tapped in than the limitations of the ego mind, which can only experience what's going on in front of us. Trusting is so huge, trusting in yourself and trusting in the universe. I didn't trust in myself or the universe when this all started for me in Los Angeles. I didn't, but I knew that I had to risk trusting something, because what I was doing was eating me alive. So I was pushed out of the nest. But it turned out, it unfolded in so many miraculous ways. It sounds a little overdramatic, but I remember driving around the streets of Los Angeles when I was in this new wave of ultimate support. Parking in Los Angeles is insane. I would have to go to a bookstore, and there was a parking spot open in front of the bookstore with the meter paid. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? This is too much. This is like Seinfeld. It's just, everything was perfectly aligning for me to validate that I was on the right path. Synchronicities are another great sign to know that you're on the right path, where you're all of a sudden, like, I really needed a blender, and this person walks up to you, I'm getting rid of my blender. You know anybody who needs one? Those things are real, and they happen, and they speed up when you're on that path of higher knowing, connecting to your inner wisdom. And you're gonna piss people off when you're making choices that honor yourself, which include saying no more often, not going to social gatherings if you're not feeling it. Because I tell you what, if you don't feel going to a certain gathering and you go anyway, most of the time it wasn't good for you to be there for them either. Because if you're not showing up and feeling really engaged by the process, it's like this down energy that you can contribute. So really listening to your inner guidance is a good reason for it. It doesn't have to be good or bad. It just means it's not an alignment for you for that day, for whatever reason. And again, self-love and self-care is the ultimate answer for this. None of us are going to be moving forward in the world that we want to see if we're neglecting self-care and self-love. And again, it doesn't look like making yourself the only important being, but it means giving from a full cup. So we see this a lot with moms or parents who are really, really going 10 hours a day, trying to make it work for here and there and all the things, neglecting their own wellness and denying their own ability to eat. And I know in some cases it's almost impossible, but even if you're only carving out like a minute for yourself to just have quiet and stillness, make sure you eat fresh food with a plate or something that makes you feel like you're cared for. Even if it's just for a minute, you start to build on that. You're not only nurturing your precious number one priority, which is yourself, but you're communicating to others that you do in fact matter. And one of the things, I also teach yoga now. I've taken on many different tools to help people fall in love with themselves. But one of the things that I tell my yoga classes at the end of every class is that the greatest gift that we can bring into the world is one of self-love. Because in doing so, Number one, we diffuse drama in its path. We don't have any thirst for it. We don't want to share it. We don't want to feed it. It just stops. Drama is something where you're complaining without the intent to improve something. You're just complaining with the intent to get everyone to complain with you. So drama stops in our path. Number two, we have access to ideas that transform worlds. Ideas that we've never even fathomed. And we have the confidence and courage to take action on those ideas. Because we can have the best ideas in the world, but if they just stay floating up here and we don't take action to anchor them here, we're not having the impact that's necessary. And then three, we are of authentic love and service to others. We want to be of service. We're not doing it with expectations for reciprocation or to look good in the eyes of others, which doesn't have the ultimate healing impact. It reinforces that codependency, that fear of needing everyone else to validate you. But if you trust in the inherent support and the value and the worthiness of who you are, then you will find that support comes to you and you don't have to scramble and fight for it. You can go more in the receptive mode. Because if you look at the way we've been conducting ourselves on Earth, it's been very active. If you look at things energetically, it's masculine and feminine energies that are everything, humans included. A woman doesn't just have feminine energy, she has masculine too. A man has both too. It doesn't matter what your gender is, but there's feminine and masculine energies in all things. The Earth has been dominated by very masculine energies, even with women. The women's rights movement was beautiful, but it just became women doing masculine things. Feminine things are intuitive and soft and compassionate and loving and love nature and love animals. Those are very feminine qualities. And it's something that we all possess, and we're seeing more of it now with these love-based movements. But so to see it in the world, we have to incorporate it in our own daily lives. We have to nurture and have compassion and respect and receptivity for us. We're thinking we have to go and get that job and get the thing, get the people, but no. Take inspired action on behalf of your intuitive wisdom, but don't just do without taking that moment to sit and receive the intuitive guidance from inside. That's how the balanced healing energy reaches Earth and how we bring the results we're looking for. So I will end there if anyone has any comments or questions. So yeah.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you for giving her a
We have 4 minutes for questions.
Oh,
Yeah.
we do have. I have a mic.
Hi, great speech. Thank you so much for sharing your story honestly. So I have a question. When you are really angry, like you said, you maybe the way you live, you are aggravating people around you, or the opposite, you are just seeing what's going on in Australia and you are just like can't help it but be angry. What are the tangible tips that you would have that from yoga, Reiki? I'm also yoga teacher, Reiki master, so I love those. But maybe a favorite mantra or something tangible that helps you to calm down.
I love that question. So anger is not bad. Anger is a very powerful, valuable emotion from what I understand. It's just what we do with it. If we don't take action for the solution piece, so it's really important to look inside and say, I'm angry right now, I want to attack and get back and shame and make wrong. That's not a healthy, love-based action on response to the anger. But when the anger comes through and you just completely let it consume you, you absorb it and you say, okay, this is happening, now what? Let the anger consume you. It feels like it's going to kill you, but it won't. There were so many cases where I did that. I just sat and let the pain and the misery consume me. And on the other side of that, that's where you access those ideas, those transformative ideas. And from there, you can take a love-based action, which is incredibly necessary right now. It's a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Nikki. I guess that's all the time we have. Thanks. Let's give everyone a warm round of applause for Nikki. Awesome. Moving speech. Okay, if you missed any part of the presentation, it's available on our YouTube channel, or it will be soon, plantbased.diet.org.